Good evening, I'm KHOU Meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are looking at Galveston right now, and we're starting to see those hazy conditions starting to move on in, especially when it's the fog that's actually causing those hazy conditions. And so we're looking at another outlook of foggy mornings, especially if you are heading out the door for Galveston for tomorrow. But another breezy evening, even though those winds are lightening up a bit, but slightly cooler for Saturday, all thanks to the arrival of a very weak cold front. So it's going to still be a great rodeo weekend. We're not expecting to see any type of issues when it comes to this weekend. We're still going to remain rather dry and warm for the next few days. Here's a look at your weekend forecast. Slightly cooler, highs in the 80s, lows in the 50s for Saturday morning. We're going to warm up actually quite quickly, especially as you head out the door on Saturday. Mostly sunny for Sunday with a high of 82, with lows dropping out to about 60 degrees. And so if you are heading out to the rodeo parade, or maybe you're heading out to the rodeo run that a lot of us are signed up for, we're going to see 67 degrees by 9 a.m. Even parade start time is 10 a.m. with 70 degrees. And then by the afternoon hours, we're going to see highs topping out at around 81 degrees, but lots of sunshine expected. We're going to still see some hit or miss cloud cover, but I think for the most part for this weekend, we're going to see mostly sunny skies. Right now, if you are heading out this evening, 75 degrees at Bush Airport, Galveston 67, Brenham 78, Tomball 77 degrees, Pearland and Conroe are in the 70s. And so if you are heading out to the cook-off this evening, which I heard is last until 11 p.m., we're expecting to see those 70-degree temps, cloudy and humid conditions with southeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. So current temps right now, 99 in Laredo. We're seeing very warm conditions, especially out towards the south of us, across portions of South Texas, but Harlingen at 83, 78 in Victoria, Austin at 79. San Antonio was even in the 90s for today. And so as we look at the weather pattern for the next few days, we're going to continue to track this high pressure system that's coming in from the west. That's really going to start building in across the state and just really cause the conditions to remain warm and humid as we head into next week. So we could be looking at more 80-degree temperatures, but we're also going to be tracking another weather system by Wednesday of next week, especially when it comes to the rain chances. And so showers will return next Wednesday. The models are not really tapping onto this system quite well yet. There's a lot of disagreement in terms of the rain potential and the intensity of how much rain it could bring to the Houston area. So our GFS model showing mostly isolated rain chances, but our European model is actually going quite widespread with the rain and storm chances for the middle of next week. So we're going to be tracking this system. So it's still too far early to tell whether or not this system is going to bring us some significant rain chances, but we also have to keep in mind that it is going to be warmer as we head into March. And so that really starts our severe weather season, especially for a large portion of the state. But we do need the rain. We haven't received rain for quite some time, or significant rain that is, and that really is causing those extreme drought conditions to creep in closer towards Houston and become a bit more widespread west of the city. But Cleveland and Liberty still had extreme drought conditions. And so what this U.S. Drought Index, what they usually take into account is the lack of rain that this area hasn't received. So this really could cause some dry vegetation. And so when we get these dry cold fronts that move in, that brings the surge of dry air in place, that really does create more of that widespread fire weather hazard. So where you see the red colors is really where you see that higher fire elevated risk when it comes to the cold front. So right now we're not looking at any type of dry conditions, but when you usually see these cold fronts that bring that surge of dry air, it's usually out towards the west and even towards Cleveland and Liberty that really start to see the more of the elevated fire concerns. And we saw that this past week with our last little weak cold front that came through with the dry air in place. So one thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on is the fog concerns for tonight. So as we go into the overnight hours, we're going to expect to see foggy conditions ahead of this little weak front that's going to be moving southward, and that is going to bring some visibility issues, especially for Galveston and even portions of League City and Kemah area as you head out the door for tomorrow morning. So definitely give yourself enough time. Maybe if you're heading out to Galveston, or maybe you're heading from Galveston to the city, which a lot of folks do commute back and forth to Houston and Galveston, just be on the lookout for that fog if you are heading out tomorrow. So as far as your hourly forecast, temps dropping into the upper 60s by 1 a.m. 3 a.m. 68 degrees. We're going to see still 60-degree temps. You're not going to need a jacket if you are heading out the door this morning, but overnight lows dropping into the upper 60s for tonight. And so we're just going to have to really keep an eye on that patchy dense fog in some locations, especially if you are heading out and about, especially for the tomorrow morning. In our northern areas likely could see some chilly temperatures, especially Huntsville and Livingston, dropping down to 59 at Huntsville, 57 in Livingston. And so that front just north of us might still bring some cooler conditions conditions for our extreme northern areas. As far as tomorrow's forecast, high temps in the lower 80s. However, take a look at our western areas. So areas west of Houston could be more impacted by warmer conditions, and so we could be looking at upper 80s for Katy and Sugar Land, even Palacios at 80 degrees, Brenham at 86 degrees. So we're almost nearing 90 for some locations, especially as we head into the afternoon for tomorrow. But our eastern areas, Liberty, Baytown, even Galveston, a little bit cooler. Houston 83 degrees, even though we could see more of those upper 80-degree temperatures. We're going to be split in half with warm and dry conditions, especially with this front that is moving southward. So as you look at that temperature outlook from March 4th to March 8th, warmer than normal conditions are expected here across a large portion of the south. But just keep in mind, for this time of year, Houston, we usually have a high temperature at 70 degrees. That's our seasonal high for this time of year. We're going to be still above that as we head into the next few days. Our next little cold front that's going to be really bringing us some rain chances will be that one that's arriving next week that could bring some storms with it, and that's when we're going to see some slightly cooler conditions for next week. So your 7-day forecast, high temps in the 80s, lows in the 60s and 50s. I think Saturday morning is going to be one of our coolest mornings for the next 7 days, all thanks to the arrival of this cooler surge of drier air in place, but we're not going to see much change. It's still going to be warming up quite quickly, especially as you head out the door for this weekend. So for 84 degrees for Monday and Tuesday, getting up to 83 for Tuesday. So if you're watching us on TV, just always don't forget that you can scan this QR code on your screen, and this will bring you to a link where you could download our KHOU 11 app, where we have the latest weather updates as well as mostly the latest news and weather headlines. You can also access our 24/7 radar that you could look at when it comes to these rain chances that we are going to start seeing ramp up as we head into the months of March in the spring season. Of course, as they say, April showers bring May flowers, and that's what we're going to expect to see for the next couple of months here. And so you're able to access that that 24/7 radar, especially if you are watching this on your mobile device. But Galveston right now, if you're just now joining us here on KHOU 11 Plus, we're looking at somewhat hazy conditions out in Galveston. We're going to start seeing that fog starting to move on in for this evening in the overnight hours. And so just keep in mind that fog concerns are going to be somewhat of an issue for tomorrow morning along the coast. Slightly cooler for Saturday. Great rodeo weekend expected. No issues in terms of any rain chances as we kick off rodeo season here across H-Town. High temps about 81 degrees, 82 for Sunday. And then if you are heading out to the parade, it's going to be fantastic out there. Temperatures in the 60s. Getting up to 70 degrees by 10 a.m. I grew up in Houston, and I was in high school band, and we marched the rodeo parade, and there has been some of those mornings that were very cold, and there has been some of those mornings that have been pretty rainy during our rodeo parade. But for the most part, it's going to be quite fantastic for this Saturday if you are heading out, especially to the parade or to the cook-off, or maybe you're heading out to the rodeo run that's happening at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's live look right now, 70s degree temps across the board at Brenham, Tomball at 77, Pearland at 73. As far as your evening forecast for tonight, we're expecting to see 70-degree temps with cloudy and humid conditions for the cook-off forecast. But we're just looking at mostly dry conditions for much of Texas. No rain on radar, but there is a front that's situated up to the north of us. We're just going to be tracking this high pressure system building in across Texas. That is going to keep conditions warm and dry at least until the middle of next week. And that's when our next system is going to start moving on in. And that's going to bring a form of a cold front with us, as well as some rain chances as we head into the middle of the week. And like I said before, we do need the rain chances because our latest drought report that was released this morning did include a larger portion of the areas west of Houston under that extreme drought classification. And this is all thanks to the lack of rain, or the lack of rain that this area has not really received. And we're seeing that area off to the east, especially across Cleveland and Liberty, that has also increased in size as well. And so hopefully we get some rain chances to help us not be in a drought situation, because what it usually does is increases those fire weather concerns. But we're not at any drought restrictions or anything, but it's just the fire weather concerns that usually come into play when we get these dry cold fronts, and we're not really expecting to see a significant one anytime soon. But the only thing to keep an eye on is the fog. When we have that fog in place, that's really a sign that the atmosphere is extremely humid, and those dew points and the atmospheric moisture levels are high. And so usually when that happens, we don't have that fire threat like we're seeing today or right now. So for our hourly forecast, temperatures dropping into the upper 60s by 5 a.m. Overnight lows dropping about 67 degrees across the area. area. We're just expecting to see warmer conditions for the most part as we head into March 4th to March 8th. But as far as your 10-day high temperature trends, we are expecting those high temps in the lower 80s, getting up to 84 degrees by Monday. Our average high for this time of year, like I said before, is 70 degrees, and we're going to be above that as we head into the next 10 days. So as far as your 7-day forecast, we're just going to be tracking our fantastic weather conditions for our outdoor activities for this weekend, especially for Saturday and into Sunday. Lots of sunshine expected. I think Saturday morning is going to be one of our chilly mornings where we're going to see a low of 58 degrees, but our next rain chance next Wednesday, we're keeping an eye on that system. We're only giving it a 20% as of now, but just keep an eye on that system for next Wednesday or in the middle of next week, because we could be looking at some more of those, maybe a strong storm or two north of Houston. And so, like I said before, it's really not, we're still a little bit too far out when it comes to that weather system by the middle of next week, but we are expecting to see a few showers with a cold front on the way. That was going to bring those temps down into the upper 70s. And of course, that is our extended forecast. Make sure to have a great rest of your night and stay safe out there for this weekend. I am meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your weather forecast. And as always, you can find the latest weather updates on KHOU.com or download the app by scanning that QR code on your screen, where you can stream our latest forecast as well as other news and weather headlines. Have a great rest of your evening.